Hi, good morning, and welcome to the Jon Gaunt podcast, episode 2 of the new podcast. Thanks for all your kind comments about the first one. But let me tell you today, I may well wind you up. If you are of a nervous disposition, go and get a strong cup of tea now, because Gaunty's today saying we have got to re-nationalise the water companies. What's going on? Has Gaunty turned into a socialist? Has Gaunty become a commie while he was on his deathbed? No. Gaunty, Jon Gaunt, me, I'm just talking plain common sense. The state of our water in the UK is an absolute flipping, I could use a much stronger word, disgrace. Do you agree with me? Send me an email, john@jongaunt.com. Of course it is. And why are these fat cats allowed to make all this money? They couldn't run a piss up in a brewery, let alone a water company. Do you remember the old days? When we were kids in the 60s and 70s, you'd run in from playing football on Radford Common and put your head right under the tap and just drink the water. Do you feel safe letting your kids do that now? Look what's happening with this cryptosporidium outbreak. It's lack of investment. I'll tell you why there's a lack of investment. Because they've been shoving all the profit and the money into their arse pockets. That's why. Water can't be owned by individuals, can it? Look at the problem we've got with Thames Water. They're basically bankrupt. Which, let me tell you, could be a godsend. Because evidently there's some rule that you have to give 20 years notice if you ever want to re-nationalise a water company. Who made up this lunacy? And anyway, let's just change it. Rishi likes to make new laws. How about making one like this, Rishi? No doubt you drink bottled water, though, in your mansions, my friend. But for ordinary people, we want to put our head under the tap like we used to, don't we? Of course we do. You have to be able to trust the water. Many years ago, when I was on BBC Three Counties, we had an outbreak of cryptosporidium. So people did what the doctors advised and carried on drinking water, because if you've got diarrhoea and sickness, that's what you're meant to do. Keep off the solids until you go solid. So people in Hertfordshire, this was many years ago, must be 20 odd years ago, drank the water. But they were just puking up this yellow fluid, and the same at the other end. And actually what they were doing by drinking the tap water was they were making themselves even more poorly. Eventually the word got out there, and the water companies and the health authorities told people only to drink bottled water, and they got on top of the cryptosporidium. I didn't even know what it was. In fact, I thought he played for Arsenal. Oh, let's face it, they're pretty shit at the moment, aren't they? I thought that was funny. I've got to say. Talking of which, I want to talk about the FA Cup, maybe later today, or maybe in another one. I can't believe that Man United are in the final. We all know it should be Coventry, don't we? We were cheated by VAR. Let's get rid of that while we're at it. I certainly don't want to nationalise that, but I'll talk about that later. So if you've got a view, let me know. John@jongaunt.com. Where are we going? Cryptosporidium. So I thought that was gone. I thought that would never come back, this parasite, or maybe just in isolated cases. But all these people are poorly now. It's completely outrageous. Likewise, Thames Valley. I'm with Fergal Sharkey. I used to love him in the undertones, but I think what he's doing now is actually probably even more important. The way he's taking on these water companies, the way he's talking about the pollution. Did you see how much sewage they pumped into Windermere? I went up in a helicopter about a year ago. I was doing a bit of work for somebody when I was trying to get back on my feet, and he took me to Scotland in a helicopter, and we flew over Windermere. Actually went down and over Windermere. What a beautiful, beautiful piece of the world that is. What a beautiful lake. Loch, whatever you want to call it. And now they've been pumping sewage into there. And then there's the beaches of Cornwall. Now, I'm not going to do this with rose-tinted spectacles. I remember going to Cornwall as a lad. Took forever. Took about 12 hours. It's before motorways and my dad's little A74. And, with the waving arm where he'd turn around, he'd be smoking the whole way down. We'd all be like beagles in a laboratory. And then he'd turn around and smack us. Stop shouting. Stop falling out with each other. And my brother, he only has to look at a motorway atlas and he starts puking because he was the worst traveller in the world. But anyway, well, where was I? Oh, yeah. So we used to go to Cornwall, and they used to be in the bed and breakfast and on the caravan sites. You used to say, if you suffer with gastroenteritis, drink water. And it talked about the fact that this was a common occurrence. We never really put two and two together and realised it was all the shit they were pumping into the beautiful beaches of Cornwall. But that is what it is. It is what it was. And do you know what now? I'm a grown-up with grown-up children. It's still happening. There's a report out today that Whitty is involved in, Professor Whitty. Then this isn't just about sewage. This is about the routine discharge of waste into our rivers and into our beaches. This has got to be stopped. It's got to stop. We've had years of talking about it, but we have a right, as I said, I'm going to use this image of the kid sweating, putting his head under the tap and pouring the water down his throat, letting it flow into his body. You never thought you were going to be poisoning your kids or yourself if you did that. That's where we've got to go back to. We're the 5th richest economy in the world. And now we can't trust our water. Why are we putting up with this shit, both metaphorically and literally? We shouldn't. You know, I've been a great proponent and supporter of drinking tap water. I'm not really into bottled water. I think that's one of the biggest cons. I often wonder about my mum. You know, she died back in the 70s. If she came back now and saw that people bought water, she'd probably, I'm glad she got cremated, she'd be spinning in the grave, wouldn't she? Likewise, she wouldn't believe that people buy coffee and walk down the street drinking it. What a pose that is. What a waste of money that is. Anyway, I'm getting diverted here. Let's get back to the water. Water should be free and it should be owned by all of us. So I say it's time now to re-nationalise, absolutely re-nationalise the water companies. And the people who are running it, if they're so good, let them stay in their high-powered jobs, keep paying them the same. But why can't they do it for the country rather than for themselves? I'm sorry. I don't think it is being a socialist or a commie or being left-wing to say water should belong to us all. I think it's plain common sense. And the people who have poisoned us recently, either with the lack of investment, which has caused this cryptosporidium outbreak, or Thames Water, I mean, they keep saying, oh, we might go bankrupt. Well, I'd bankrupt the bastards and I'd get the people who run it in court. There's too much of this, dare I say it, hand-wringing and hand-washing whenever there's a major problem in our country. It's like the post office scandal. It took a TV programme to get those people in court. And I hope that people will go to prison. Sorry, they're not even in court at the moment after the inquiry. And I think the same thing applies to the scandal, the blood scandal that's just breaking at the moment. How did these people sleep with themselves when they knew they were effectively handing down life sentences? Well, I'd hand down some severe sentences to them. And before you get on to it, oh, what about COVID? What about COVID? There was a conspiracy to kill us. Well, you might believe that bull, and that's up to you. I don't. However, if there has been misdirection, or if there has been lies told, or if there has been profit made off the back of it, which it certainly looks like there has with certain Tory members of Parliament, then that needs to be investigated thoroughly, and if criminal prosecutions are necessary, that needs to happen. I am not, and I don't want to get distracted into debating COVID, because I want to keep on the subject today. But you understand what I'm saying. In public life, people must be held accountable. Do you agree? John at jongaunt.com. So the water, I say re-nationalise it. And I'm going to go another step further, actually. Should we do the same for gas and electricity? I mean, gas isn't in the news at the moment, I suppose, because we've had some, haven't we? It was yesterday. but it'll come back, won't it? People are having to choose between meat and heat. And that's wrong. Again, as I say, in the 5th largest economy in the world, that shouldn't be happening. We all know the gas, tell Sid, was sold off cheap. And the lecky. And not only that, we sold it effectively in the end, didn't we, to foreign companies. So we now have a situation where we're paying more for our gas and the lecky than they are in, say, Germany or France, which is where the companies who own most of our infrastructure are based. How do we get ourselves in this mess? I know our public services weren't brilliant, and I know there was problems with nationalised industry, and I'm not now suggesting we bring back British Leyland. However, did we sell it all off too cheap? And do you think electricity and gas would be better in public ownership? Am I turning into a left-wing Charlie? Am I turning left-wing Laurie? Do you remember him? Am I turning into that? I just think because I've been so poorly, I've had this time to think things through. I'm still basically the kind of guy who believes in small government, small taxes, personal responsibility, personal choice, all of those things I still believe in. But when I look at what's happening in Britain today, you've got to ask a question. You see, I've had some brilliant emails about the first podcast. People who have been with me for years or new people who are just saying, I love it. And I really thank you for that. And if you could share and like wherever you see this podcast and tell all your mates I'm back and share it and get it out there, that would be great. I mean, the downloads have been through the roof. So thank you for that from a standing start. And I will get better as I remember how to do this. But I've also had, I've had one negative. Have a listen to this. Great to have you back. Pat Griffith. This won't be the real name, of course, but here we are. So glad to have you back. Question. You have consistently over the years called people signing on feral, feckless and work shy. And actually I called them the feral, the feckless and the long-term useless, but never mind. Years verbally abusing people who were too ill to work or who couldn't get a break. Well, real surprised to hear you've been signing on, Gaunt. I just wonder how you square that hypocritical circle, mate. Look forward to this being read out on your next pod in 6 months. Well, Pat, or whatever your name is, I'm reading it out now because you're talking absolute rubbish. Something's polluted your mind. Have you been drinking the water? Hey, do you remember that? Don't Drink the Water. Wasn't that a brilliant TV programme? It was with Blakey out of On the Buses and Pat Coombs. They went to live in Spain. We all thought it was mad. Who's going to live in Spain? Yeah. And they couldn't drink the water. It was a hotel. Do you remember? I think it was on ITV. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. So he says, you took years calling people signing on feral, feckless and work shy. No, I never. I've always talked about the welfare system being a safety net. I don't believe it should be a lifestyle choice. I believe it should be a safety net. It's not a very good net at the moment, especially if you're as big as me, because I'm in the net as we speak. I see nothing hypocritical after paying in all my life, Pat, to take some back out. Nothing hypocritical whatsoever. At the moment, I get, I think it's, £91 a week, about 182 quid a fortnight on job seekers allowance. That's what I get. I'm not proud of it. I'm looking for work. Why do you think I'm doing these podcasts? I'm putting myself back out in the marketplace now. I'm well, but I'm telling you, I'm glad that there's this little safety net there. There's nothing hypocritical about that. The people I picked on, and I still pick on, is the feral, the feckless and the long-term useless. Those who do need a good kick up the arse and to get work. But to all of these Tory politicians and these social commentators who say there's loads of jobs, you can easily get a job. Well, I wonder whether you've ever done that. You see, with Rishi and Keir Starmer, have they ever been unemployed? I mean, I don't mean when you first leave university. I mean, like now, recently. I don't think they have. And I think this is part of the problem with the political class. And I think this is what needs to be addressed. We need to be hard on people. We need to give them opportunity. We need to get them back into work. Of course we do. But the idea that we don't then also pick on the tax evaders and the tax avoiders, in this country is ludicrous. And it's not an either or, Pat. It's actually we can do both. we can give people opportunity, get them back into work, and we can make sure people aren't fiddling the dole or indeed fiddling the tax system. I would say fiddling the tax system is probably a bigger crime, wouldn't you? You know, this idea at the moment, Rishi has been picking, or going to pick on people with disabilities. He's going to pick on people who are unemployed. Isn't it? It's kind of like, let's blame the bogeyman, yeah? It's the boats, it's this, it's the boats, the planes. It's just ludicrous. Can't you see through this? Can't you see what they're doing? It's divide and rule. So real surprised to hear you've been signing on. It's no surprise at all. It's my legal right, Pat. I just wonder how you square that hypocritical circle. No hypocrisy. And by the way, you're not my mate, Pat. So, Pat, I hope I've answered your question, and I'm glad that I've answered it within a week. Thank you for listening, because it's people like you who are so thick that you keep listening, and no doubt you'll go off now with your badge of honour. I told Gaunty what I thought of him. Great. You're spreading the message. Gaunty's back. You really are pathetic, Pat. The idea of a welfare state is to be a safety net for people who fall on hard times. And I think I've been honest, brave, if you want to call it that. I've told you where I am. I haven't got the Jaguar anymore. I haven't got the big house with the lions, with the red eyes. I've lost the lot. But I'm fighting back. I've been seriously ill, but now I'm fighting back. Our wonderful NHS saved my life, and I will be forever grateful for them. So, Pat, thank you for your comments. Keep listening, sunshine, and keep telling your people about me, because that's how I'm going to rebuild my career. Anyway, so let's move on from there. So should we do the same with gas and electricity? Or is that going too far? And the other thing I've never really understood is, how come the gas and the lecky now can make so much profit, but it didn't work when it was nationalised? Do people just go there and be lazy? Is it the civil service attitude? I don't know. I'd like to have your views. John at jongaunt.com. But one thing I definitely think, and I'd like to know your views on this as well. I've come down to Oxfordshire, I won't say exactly where, to see my daughter. She's starting a new job, so I'm supporting her by, looking after the dog, etc., etc. And so I'm here for a day or two, so I'm doing that. And in the meanwhile, still looking for work and still doing podcasts, as you can hear. But I came down on the train, and it was amazing. Because normally I drive everywhere. I know trains, unless you're living in London, it's just a nightmare. But I came down, and Rosie, my daughter, said to me, "You got a ticket yet?" I said, "No." I said, "They're quite expensive." And she said, "Have you been on Trainline?" I said, "Well, I've been on that app, the National Rail app." She says, No. You need to go on Trainline. They consolidate the tickets, so you can get like a ticket from, Coventry to Leamington, Leamington to Banbury, Banbury to Oxford. I said, "I don't want to have all those tickets." She says, "No, you idiot. You don't have the tickets. You can do it all on your phone. Store it." Gaunty entering the modern world. You can do it all on your phone, but the ticket, the final price will be cheaper. I've also got my senior rail card as well, which I paid for. Is that okay with you, Pat, for me to pay for a senior rail card and get a discount on the rail, a third off? It's a great deal. If you are over 60, get one. But we'll better check with Pat, though, that that's okay, that we're going to use a benefit that's open to everyone. So anyway, I said, all right, I'll do that. I said, but when I get to Oxford, how do I get to your place? She said, "Get the bus." A bus? I sounded like that woman in Where the Nuts Come From. A bus? I nearly had a fit. Yeah, she said, "It's easy. Come out of the station, turn right, there's a bus stop there, on you get." I said, "How much is that going to cost?" She says, "It's a £2 flat fare." Now, I'd heard about this because I've been to Stratford-upon-Avon a couple of times to watch plays, and I've met Lisa over there, and I've gone on the bus, and I was amazed. I got on the bus in Coventry. I said, "How much to Stratford?" The bloke says, £2. I says, £2? He says, "Yeah, it's flat fares now. It's a new scheme." £2 to go all the way. It's obviously subsidised. And this isn't because I'm an old fogey. It's for everybody. Well, that's brilliant, isn't it? So on my trip to Oxford, I got on the train. I was on there for 40-odd minutes, got off, straight on the bus, and here I am. Well, it wasn't quite as easy as that because I tried to get on the bus and I got on the wrong bus. The guy misunderstood where I said I wanted to go. So I was ending up going towards Aylesbury, believe it or not, until I realised, no, this is going too far. So I had to get off. And the guy says, go across the road, get on another one, another £2, of course, back into Oxford and then get the right one. So I did that. So I cocked up, but probably because of me, although it might be an idea if we employ people who can speak the King's English and understand it, because I definitely said where I wanted to go. But anyway, mistakes happen. It might have been me. I was in a rush. I don't know. But it just seems odd. Anyway, so I got here. So what the point I'm trying to make, when I come again now, that's what I'll do. I won't bother coming in a car. Why should I? I'm going to just use this train line, get the train down, get off, get on the bus, £2. Although I've been told also for the Stratford bus, I can now get, as long as it's okay with you, Pat, I can now get a senior bus card or something, which allows me to travel free after a certain time on the buses and trains within the West Midlands, Warwickshire conurbation. I haven't got around to doing it. I'm going to get one. I'm going to be like one of those women that used to get on the bus when I was going into the city centre and they'd go, am I too early? Yeah, am I too early to get on with the bus pass? And that's me. That's what Gaunty's become. Off the sick bed into too early territory. But again, Pat, these are benefits that we get with age. These are benefits we're allowed to take, and I'm going to take them. So I'm going to get my bus pass. I haven't got it yet. I won't be able to use it for Oxford because I don't live in that area. However, that to me seems to be the essence of what this whole bullshit we used to go on about when I was on BBC London and on Talk about public integrated transport. If it worked like it should have worked yesterday, and it didn't work in the end only because of human error, and I'm willing to admit that might have been my human error, but in general, that will work. Bus into town in Coventry, that'll be free with me pass. On the train, cheap, right, because it's in, it was cheap anyway, but I'll use this train line app, out of the station, onto the bus, then at my daughter's. Fantastic. Door to door and probably faster, certainly more efficient and better for the environment, Pat, than coming in a car. So again, I'm not suddenly becoming all Gaunty's, becoming a wet liberal who's into public transport. I'm just saying, well, if you can use public transport, why not? Why not use it? Why use a car when you don't need it? I don't need it. When I go back on the day after tomorrow, I should just do this in reverse. It's a fantastic service, and the trains were on time. But as I was coming down, I was thinking, this train app then, that's obviously a private company. If they can do it and offer much cheaper tickets, and I'm talking big savings, I think 10 or 15 quid I saved, why doesn't National Rail do the same? Why doesn't their app do the same and consolidate it? And I got talking to somebody and they said, well, why don't they tell you that when you go, if you can find a ticket office, of course, they try to close them all down. Why can't you just get that deal at the ticket office? And I don't know the answer to that. It's just not right, is it? It should be the same fare, however you pay for it. Do you agree? These consolidated fares should be offered at the train station, and they should be offered, of course, on the National Rail app as well. Who's allowed this two-tier system to develop? Useless politicians of all parties, I guess, who don't actually have to use the trains, or if they do, they've got a subsidised first-class ticket. If we want to get people onto trains and onto public transport, and by the way, the buses these days, have you been on? They're spotless, aren't they? They are fabulous. Trains aren't too bad, but the buses are just out of this world. The ones in Coventry now are all electric. Just brilliant. Well, the ones I've been on, I think, again, why not? That is where we can use electric vehicles. It seems to me to be logical to do that. Are you with me or are you against me? So what I'm trying to say is, why I've come down here and it's opened my eyes. I want to know why aren't politicians talking about this? Why have we got a 2-tier rail system? Why aren't these tickets available to all? And also, then I was thinking about all the people on the train, and especially on the bus that I got in Oxford. Most of them were sort of my age group, or young, young mums with kids. They were all being subsidised, because this £2 fare thing I'm telling you about is obviously subsidised. But I got off one bus, which was a stagecoach, crossed the road to get on the other one to get back into Oxford, and that wasn't a stagecoach. So then I was thinking, why are there all these different companies? And if there's so much profit in it now, again, why isn't it owned by the local authority? Do you remember, like in Coventry, it was the Coventry Bus Company, wasn't it? Then it became West Midlands Travel Authority, or whatever it's called this week. But again, if it must be the councils or local taxation that's subsidising my £2 fare, or soon to be no fare, Pat, when I get my pass. Hey, Pat, hey! When I get my bus pass, Pat, there'll be no stopping me, mate. I'll be all over the place for free. Of course, I have paid in for 30 or 40 years, Pat. But I don't know. I'll leave him alone in a minute. But it's kind of like, if that's the case, why aren't they in public ownership? Or have I got this wrong? I might just be getting this a bit I might be just getting a bit carried away with myself about public ownership. But something's got to be looked at. Something's got to give. It just seems to me to be the idea of privatising things to make them more efficient. I accept that. And I accept also that profit's important. I never thought that profit was a dirty word. But we've now got people profiteering, haven't we? Massively profiteering, especially when it comes to water, but also gas and electricity, off the misery of the rest of us. And I don't hear politicians talking about this in any real joined-up way. And I think we could make our country a lot better if they did. I think we can make the country a lot better if, not in London, because in London, public transport is pretty brilliant, isn't it? You know what I mean? You don't really need a car. But if we took these politicians out of London and took away their free passes for the moment, and their expense accounts, and made them travel like we travel, maybe they would see what the is. I don't know. I would love your views on this. Please feel free to send me an email. It's john@jongaunt.com. Jon, of course, no H in my name. john@jongaunt.com. I just think this is kind of interesting. This is the politics of life, the stuff of life that really politicians should be talking about. Do you agree? Love to hear from you. Anyway, that's nearly the end of the podcast. Just one thing to say, of course, I think I'll do a bigger pod maybe tomorrow or the next day about VAR and about the way Coventry City were cheated. And how can you be a Man United fan and go to that final? You're going to get absolutely hammered. But then again, you see, it's hard. I'm not going to watch it because Man City, 115 alleged offences of breaking the financial rules. Football is eating itself. You know what I was saying earlier about we used to play soccer on the football. Even I'm falling into. We used to play football on Radford Common, with jumpers for goalposts and the rest of it. And then the final score would be 38-16 or something. Play all day, then run back across Radford Road, looking both ways, like Tufty tells you, and put our head under the tap and drink the water. But football belonged to us then, didn't it? Football is eating itself. I mean, I loved Highfield Road. The Rico, I actually opened when I was a Z-list celebrity, I actually had a plaque on a wall inside the Rico where I opened one of the rooms. It was the Jaguar suite. I don't think they'd even let me park Jaguars now. I'd be too old. But anyway, that's what I did. And I don't know. I like the Rico, and it's been good this season when it's got fuller and, it's got an atmosphere. But a lot of the young kids talk about, Fortress Rico. Well, it's not called Rico anymore, is it? It's called the CBS Arena, Coventry Building Society. I mean, good to them to put the money in. But it seems to me that football just isn't the same. Last time I went to Wembley, it was the playoffs, and all the beer was Budweiser. I don't know, there's something about Budweiser doesn't seem the right alcohol, the prime, everything was branded Budweiser. And I was thinking, This is meant to be English soccer. But it's just the way it's gone, isn't it? I don't know. I don't really know what I'm saying here. It's just, I don't know. It's not the same game, is it? It's not the same game. Do you remember when we had, like, the baseball ground? We love watching sports night. Was that on a Tuesday or Wednesday? And the mud would be up to their eyelashes, yeah? And it was always raining. And it was Southampton. Was it Derby, Southampton? Those grounds. Highfield Road. It's all a bit anaesthetised, isn't it? Sterilised. It's all a bit sterile. And then VAR comes into play, and it just seems to me that that's taken away the excitement. I used to walk to Highfield Road. We used to stop at a pub called the Foresters. It was like the pub at the end of the universe in Hillfields. Rough as old arseholes it was. But we used to love going there before the game and then after the game. Me and my mate Brett, who sadly just passed away a few months ago, were standing there arguing afterwards about everything. Everything. So-and-so's a donkey, this and that was never offside. Yes, it was, da-da-da. But that's what made football. Now, some jerk sitting in a porter cabin, well, it won't be a porter cabin, will it? It'll be a very expensive office somewhere, decides whether that was a goal or that was an offside. Oh, that was an offside. And it's ruined the game because it takes so long to work out. And then like I know you think I'm biased, but in the Coventry City, that wasn't offside. And even if it was a centimetre, it's just, that is not what surely we want the game to be. Surely the game is better when there's people arguing like hell afterwards. I don't know. I just think that's what football's about. I don't know, rivalry, isn't it? And it's about a bit of tribalism. They've even put it into rugby union. I just think that's ruined rugby. Have you noticed on the international how long they're waiting? What do they call it? The TMO. Huh? No. Let's just have the game played. For God's sake. I wasn't going to go on about that. But I have done. I'm going to stop now. I haven't even had my breakfast. So I'm going to get on with that. Then I'm going to take my daughter's dog out for a walk, clear my mind, and then I'm going to carry on writing my film script. Got a lot to do. I'll tell you more about that next time we talk again. I do hope you're enjoying these new Jon Gaunt podcasts. I don't know why I'm doing them. I won't make any money out of them. Just doing it for a bit of fun. Don't forget you can get in touch anytime you want. It's Jon Gaunt. No, it's not. It's Jon at jongaunt.com. Jon, Jon, at jongaunt.com. And if you're an employer, maybe you run one of these sterile radio stations and you actually want someone who can do the job correctly and just sit here and, how long have I been on now? Sit here for 33 minutes talking about something off the top of his head that's getting his go. If you want somebody who can do talk radio, give me a shout. I'm very cheap at the moment. In fact, I'm dirt cheap. Absolutely. But enough of my misery. Thanks for listening. Tell all your friends I'm back. And remember, if you've got kids, give them a kiss, give them a hug. And don't forget to tell them you love them. See ya.